Greetings friends on the Cryptosphere channel. Yesterday was a day off in the US. So there is no data on Bitcoin ETFs or other metrics related to us trading. The information background is muted. But an information bomb may be bursting today, and the name of that information bomb is non-farm payroll employment numbers. A little later we'll look at what's being said about this. I'll show examples for beginners of how it happens in the market. Now we see Bitcoin hitting its lowest point in 2025 almost every day, one after another. I have hastily drawn a chart where we see something like this, and that short term was in early December. The second thing I want to show is that according to the support and resistance lines, if Bitcoin goes down further, it enters a viscous zone. Basically, without any charts, it is clear that $90,000 is a serious support. I would not like the bears to break this support. More and more often we started to see various forecasts that Bitcoin will be lower, whether this is a good sign or not. But when Bitcoin was growing, these predictions were almost non-existent. Now there are too many of them. If we take data from Peter Brandt, who saw a head and shoulders figure on the chart, he says that this trend could lead to a price move to $73.30. Let's not get that far ahead of ourselves. We just need to get through today's non-farm payrolls data. The metric is legendary, and at times, even as you can see, traders are all over the place joking about how to properly enter today. I would like to start with a small strange thing, which at the moment of recording this video no one is replicating, and it is even strange. Maybe something will change at the time of this video's release, but for now there is a strange situation. If we take the three largest US cryptocurrency publications, which are CoinDesk, Cointelegraph and BlackRock, we see no information at all. Cointelegraph was even seen in some insider information, when they published fake news, and it led to price fluctuations. Other publications have not been seen much in this, however. They remain silent. Maybe it is because it was a holiday in the US. But I think this should be the #1 news, and it is kind of blocked. In front of you is data from Arkham Company that tells us we have some bad news. This happened 8 hours ago. At the time I am recording this video, BlackRock is not buying, but instead is in the midst of a sales spree. Is not that a reason to cover this in my notes? But they are there to bring some less bright, less significant news to the forefront. Who does not know Arkham? It is the largest platform that follows all the wallets from Tesla to Donald Trump to some less significant, I would say a very user-friendly platform. Her 8-hour speech to major cryptocurrency publications went unnoticed. CryptoQuantSue reacted to it most recently, asking, how do you know that these consolidated transactions are exactly for sale? So far, the question has gone unanswered. But in connection with this information there is anxiety in the air. Perhaps, when necessary, this information will appear in these three publications, but for now, it is as if someone does not want readers to know that supposedly, according to Arkham, the largest asset manager is selling. I noticed that they did not give any specific numbers, as is supposed to be the case in this case, like here's what they had and what they got. They posted this chart, and it is a hell of a mess. It is another patina of weirdness. The number of employed in the US non-farm sector. For those who are new to the market, I would like to say that there are crazy events after the publication of this index. For example, I took August 2, 2024, where we see that the main cryptocurrency after the publication of this index collapsed from $65,000 on Monday to $49,000. This means that the publication of this index has dragged traders down so much that even calm weekends turned into draining days, where closer to the start of trading on Monday, the sentiment intensified. On the other hand, who now knowing how Bitcoin will go further would buy it at $49,000 or even at $50,000? But back then, many people did not want to buy at all. I am just showing that a serious divergence from the data can lead to such a result, and not necessarily downward. Good data, on the contrary, can throw Bitcoin upward. purely as part of delving into the statistics. Let's take a look at the latest data. Here we can see that Bitcoin was growing all day before the publication of this index. Then the bears ate all the day's growth and everything was quiet over the weekend. This happens too. What we are talking about here is that the non-farm payrolls had virtually no impact, and for the following weeks, that data was already factored in. With the release of other data, we still got a definite decline, but not for long. So, we should definitely not discount today, even if we see silence in the markets. Tonight, we'll be clear, the market will start to put its accents and priorities. Now is a good time to read what economists are saying about today's data. Here we see that employers created a significant number of jobs in December, while the unemployment rate remained unchanged. This should indicate that the labor market has once again failed to meet expectations of a sharp slowdown. The consensus forecast was for non-farm payrolls to rise by 165,030 jobs last month. This value would represent a step down from the 227,000 increase in November. That's the kind of data the Bureau of Labor Statistics is expected to release on Friday, if they confirm the Federal Reserve's intention to turn its attention back to inflation, then to cutting interest rates by a full percentage point to prevent a rapid deterioration in the labor market. Following such moves, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell has signaled those central banks should be cautious about further rate cuts. As long as the labor market remains stable, Bank of America says that a pause in January is clearly the Fed's baseline scenario. We see a risk that the contraction cycle could end if the labor market stops cooling gradually. We see projections ranging from 100 to 260. So, there is no consensus among analysts and surprises are possible. If we take the surface of this market, it is showing some signs of weakness. Monthly hiring has been concentrated in just a few sectors and the unemployment rate has risen slightly. December's payrolls figure is likely to be solid and markets may view this as an encouraging signal of an improving labor market. Nevertheless, no one is concluding that the labor market is heating up again. As for the options market, I will highlight one view here that strategists are betting that they will be a test of the Fed's tight policy in the market. It is noted that Thursday's action in the Treasury bond market implies that the preliminary employment data will be balanced despite the bias toward strong employment numbers. To conclude the options topic, a reminder that today will be another intermediate-term options close. Weekly options are not that strong unlike monthly or quarterly options, but in the absence of other news, it can influence the markets. Today, as we know, there will be news. It is possible that this data will remain muted. Either way, the markets are paying attention to it, and we are paying attention to it. And so, on Bitcoin, over 19,000 options will expire today. The odds are put 6,500ths. The maximum pain point is $97,000. As we can see, long-term holders will be especially hurt if it closes below this point. The face value of all options is $1,812 million. There are 141,000 options on Ethereum. The put-stake ratio is 4800ths and the maximum pain point is 3,450. The face value of all options is $460 million. Metrics on the cryptocurrency market are starting to vary. Some are betting on the drain, and some continue to believe that there will be growth. Follow American politics. For example, in the Senate Banking Committee organized a special department on cryptocurrencies and will be led by Cynthia Lummis. That's it. Cryptosphere channel has been with you. Subscribe. If for some reason you are not subscribed yet, click on the bell to not miss new videos, because next will be even more interesting. Bye bye.